Crowhill here. Today we have a cocktail and discuss some current events.
Well, good evening.
Hey,
Crowhill.
good evening, Pigweed. How about some booze in conversation?
Booze?
Well, yeah, in this show we don't really talk about current events that much, but
Not
every
that
once
much.
in a while something comes along we just think we really have to talk about this.
I see. So what you're saying is it's time for Nooze and Booze with Pigweed and
Nooze
Crowhill.
and Booze, exactly. Nooze and Booze with Pigweed and Crowhill. And today, the news is the Iran-Iraq War, and the booze is the Iron Dome.
Yes, a drink I just invented about 5 minutes ago.
Okay, well, that's fantastic. So
Well, actually, it was several months in the making, but
Yeah.
just mixed it. Because I made the booze, kind of.
okay.
Homemade whiskey kit.
Yeah.
And it's like you take neutral spirits
Yeah.
and you add some wood.
Right.
And it's the options are like there's a French oak and American white oak and a couple of, and then you add some botanicals and
Right.
you create. Now, their suggestions were a quality neutral vodka,
Right.
or an unaged bourbon.
Okay.
So I went with grain alcohol.
Okay.
Now I watered it down
Yeah.
to vodka strength.
Sure.
I thought this would be the cleanest, flavorless.
Yeah.
And well, you tell me if it tastes grainy or not
Yeah.
to you. And so we're going to try it just the
Just
the
the
booze
booze.
itself
Just the
before
booze.
we get into the Iron Dome.
I'm tasting grain alcohol.
Well, slightly watered grain
Yeah.
alcohol.
I'm not tasting the
So it is brown.
It is,
So it
yeah.
did pick up. You can see the bottle there.
Right.
It
Picked up some color.
So it's got the wood chips still in the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Picked up some of that, but it's got the heat.
It does. Does have the heat.
And I thought, it's more heat than regular booze, even though it is watered down. I saw a guy. What was this guy thinking? He had. It wasn't a shot. It was like one of these, a skinny glass like this, more than a shot. And his personal challenge to himself. I mean, people will just do anything on TikTok, I guess. He says, "I am going to drink this amount of grain alcohol with no reaction."
Okay. Why?
Just to show that he could.
Just to show that he could. Yeah.
He didn't even swallow it. He got it in his throat and spit it all over the place, just like I knew he was going to happen.
Because it was way too
There's no way you're going to drink grain alcohol shots with no reaction.
Well, when I was growing up, my next door neighbor grew up in West Virginia. My next door neighbor's dad grew up in West Virginia, and he told me this story about how he was at this bar, and this guy gave him a glass of grain alcohol.
Right.
And he said he drank it like nothing. 'Cause apparently, if it's good grain alcohol, doesn't really taste like much. Just goes down easy.
But West Virginia country moonshine,
I
or
guess.
like off the shelf grain alcohol.
I don't know.
So maybe that's the difference.
Maybe the story was that it went down really easy, and then he woke up 3 days later on a cot.
Well, there you have it. There you have it. So instead, to try to get through this, I've got some sweet and sour mix.
Okay.
With a 2-to-1 combination
Yeah,
here.
very good.
So
it actually,
this is the Iron Dome.
I tasted and it tasted pretty good.
So that's
but
what-
I think that's mostly the sweet and sour mix.
Okay, so the booze was a little rough.
Iron Dome. So the Iron Dome is, of course, the system that covers Israel.
But hold up, let's switch your review on this Iron Dome.
Yeah, I actually like it. It tastes pretty good.
not
I think
terrible.
the heat that we were getting from the booze by itself
No.
is gone,
Yeah.
and you get a little bit of booziness, but it's not that hot, harsh booziness.
Okay.
So yeah,
All right.
it
Well,
tastes
I'm
pretty
gonna.
good.
Next time I think I'm just gonna go with a nice vodka and see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's got to be a reason why vodka works better than grain alcohol, I guess. I don't know.
But the unaged bourbon, well, it's already bourbony, but
Yeah.
maybe you kick it up a notch with the. So unaged, so it means it's not going to have the oaky flavors.
Well, I don't know where you get unaged bourbon.
I thought that was the definition of bourbon.
Right? Yeah. Right. Unaged bourbon means it's just not bourbon.
It's not bourbon.
Yeah.
Okay, so the non-boozy Iron Dome is a amazing defensive. It's shooting a bullet with a gun.
Yeah.
Shooting a bullet with a bullet.
Shooting a bullet with a bullet. So the somebody is firing a missile at you, and you shoot a missile to hit that missile.
And it's pretty
And
damn effective.
And it's very effective. It's really pretty remarkable. Now, of course, the problem with systems like that is you miss one, and that means you have missile lands in your territory. But still, it works very well, and the Israelis have been using it for a while, and it's pretty
right. So the most recent time before we get to the war was what was that exchange? Why did
with Gaza shooting at them?
No. This is with Iran. So they struck Iran. Iran turned around and shot a bunch of them. And they picked off every one of them. But it was a limited exchange.
Yes.
And I don't know what
precipitated it. Yeah. That's okay. I remember the story.
Right.
Yeah, and there's always the question: is it going to escalate, or are they going to say, okay, that's good enough, and we'll stop? Right. And in that case, they said, this is good enough, we'll stop.
Yeah. They figured it was
honor has been fulfilled, or what?
yes, something like that. It's like yes. Right, you punched me in the nose. I knocked your block off. We'll just call it.
Let's call it. We're done now. Yeah. Okay, so now we have the situation right now is Israel preemptively attacked Iran.
Yeah.
And usually that's a bad thing. Well, whoever starts the war, you'd say that's the wrong thing. They're the bad guy. But I'm not sure that's the case here.
It is not the case. So the Islamic regime is super Islamic, and this is not geopolitical strategy. This is like written into the code of Islam and the 12 imams, and that we have to destroy Israel.
We have to hate the Jews. It's part of our religion.
It's just part of and you can send them pallets of cash. You can offer them deals. You can ask them we're going to sanction you, but you have to promise me that
right.
This is for peaceful purposes only, while building it underneath of a mountain.
Yeah, the problem when you're dealing with the radical Islamic element, and obviously there are moderate. If you're dealing with the King of Jordan, you can deal honestly with the King of Jordan. But when you're dealing with the radical Islamic element, they'll lie to you, and that's perfectly okay.
Perfectly
okay in their religion because you're an infidel. They'll hide things from you. They'll tell you that they'll do one thing, and then they'll just turn around and do something else, and they have absolutely no compunction about killing you. No. How do you deal? It's like dealing with a snake. What do you do with that?
Yeah. Right. The snake bites you and says, "Well, you knew I was a snake when you picked me up."
You dummy.
Right. And so after the Obama and Biden appeasement session,
right.
Trump says the deal is you can't have a bomb.
Right.
I mean, this
all this other talk. Forget all the other talk. Here's the bottom line: you can't have a bomb.
You can't have a bomb. And people who are sitting on top of gobs of oil, you don't need nuclear power because you're concerned about the environment.
Right.
And you need the electricity that comes from...
No. They don't want nuclear power because they're worried about global warming. They want nuclear power because they want to have a bomb so they can destroy Israel.
Because it's the first step, right? So creating nuclear electricity from nuclear energy is not the same thing as...
No.
But it's getting close.
It's on the path.
Yes.
And so wasn't there a situation... One of the things that kind of mystifies me about this story is it seems Iran is always 6 months to a year away from getting a nuclear bomb. And it's been that way for like 10 years. And it's kind of like global warming. It's always right around the corner. Well, Iran is always this close to getting a nuclear bomb. And somehow they're just always that... It's like, electric vehicles are solar power is the energy of the future, and it always will be. And Iran is about to have a nuclear bomb, and they always will.
Well, they did. And how long ago was it there? It was a while ago. It must have been 10 years ago that there was an Israeli strike.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That slowed down the program.
Every once in a while, they do some little pinprick thing. They go in and they kill some scientists, or they go in and they take out a facility or something.
So in this case, we get the 60-day ultimatum.
Right.
So it says, all right, so look, you can't have a bomb.
But that's a Trump ultimatum.
This is the Trump.
So there's this constant ongoing back and forth tension between Iran and Israel, because Iran is always saying, we're going to destroy you, we're going to destroy you, we're going to get a nuclear bomb, we're going to destroy you. And Israel's saying, we can't let you do that.
The great Satan and death to America.
Right. And Israel is saying, look, we can't live in the same region as a country that's talking that way and has a nuclear weapon. Right. It's just not going to happen. Pakistan doesn't talk that way. At least I don't think they do.
And they have nukes.
So Israel basically says, we can't do this. But Trump is, despite all the insane stuff you hear on social media, Trump is not a warlike guy. He wants to make deals. He wants peace. And so he wants to negotiate. So he says, look, 60 days. Let's come up with a deal.
But the deal must include
that you don't get a nuclear bomb and we get the check.
And you have to just shut down the whole program.
Yeah.
And Libya did. It didn't work out that great. Brazil did. Mm-hmm. South Africa had a program.
Unfortunately, Ukraine had nukes and gave them up. After listening to the lies of the State Department. Okay. And so, anyway, Iran is in a situation where they could be prosperous and everything would be fine if they would just give up their nuclear ambitions.
Yes. And so,
but they won't.
So sometimes a politician is true to his word, and he says you have 60 days. And
guess what happens on 61?
Guess what happens on 61?
On 6, and the funny, not funny, because
now was it coordinated, or did Trump say we're not telling you what to do, and we don't know what you're going to do, but after 60, we don't know you can do what you want.
Obviously, there was some coordination between the United States and Israel, and Netanyahu apparently wanted to do this strike back in April, and he waited to honor Trump's 60-day thing.
Because, the art of the deal.
Yeah, but then day 61, look, I told you 60, and
there's no right. And
you can't negotiate if there are no consequences.
And there are no half measures this time. Right. We're not going to say, we're not going to blow up one building and say, see how mad we are.
Right.
No, we're ending this.
Yeah.
And
we're ending
because this is, as people are so fond of saying these days, an existential threat. Mm-hmm. This is an actual. We know what you're up to. Mm-hmm. We know you're not going to stop. You've said that you will not stop. Mm-hmm. Gave you 60 days to say that you will stop. And so now we're going to blow up everything. But the coordination.
Yeah. So,
all right.
Remember, a lot of people have talked about, like Lindsey Graham has been talking about having a war with Iran for like 20 years. He's some kind of a crazy.
He's never
seen a war he doesn't like. He is such a warmonger. But they've been talking about war with Iran for a long time. And the big concern has always been, wait a minute, Iran has pretty good air defenses. And it's not going to be a walk in the park going in there and taking them out. Well, Israel just did it in like 4 days or something. They now have total dominance of the Iranian sky.
Just like the beeper pocket.
Yes.
It was probably 2 years in the making.
Yes. They've been planning this.
They had boots on the ground. They had vans filled with drones.
They probably have people in Iran helping them. Because a lot of people in Iran don't like the Iranian government.
This is a very unhappy populace.
Yeah. So it's very possible that there are people in Iran who are feeding them information, helping them get this stuff. And of course, Israeli intelligence is in there gathering stuff. Plus, there's satellites and everything else. And they went in there and wiped out all Iran's anti-aircraft capabilities so that now they can fly with impunity over the whole country.
Yeah. And they have the latest generation of jets, which... Your normal surface-to-air missiles, they just run away from them. They see them coming, they run away. They know immediately where they were shot from, so you get one shot. It's like all these missile launchers. When all right, the signature is on there.
Once you shoot, now you've said, "Here I am."
It's 2,000 miles to get there. Before that bomb lands, that thing is destroyed.
Yeah,
they have outdated. Airplanes.
Their jets are old.
Who haven't even taken. They haven't. The ones that weren't blown up on the runway aren't bothered taking off.
Right.
Because why? And so, how about
it's like going? It's like going to the roller derby, or to the. It's like going to a car race on a 10-speed.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, their planes are way, way out of date. So, yeah, Israel just totally wiped out all their Air Force, all their anti-aircraft,
Right.
and now they can just do whatever they want. But the thing that they don't have is they need to take out this nuclear facility that's way underground, like under a mountain or something like that.
Hold on, let me, before we get there, back to the nuclear program.
Right.
Are you saying, how come Israel gets to have a bomb and Iran doesn't?
Right.
Well, you know, that's not fair.
Yeah. Well, okay, so there's a couple ways to look at this. Because, like, for example, why do we let Pakistan have a bomb?
Right.
Because Pakistan has funded terrorism. I mean, maybe not to the extent that Iran has, but Pakistan is not the greatest country.
No, it's terrible, and they seem to be this far away from fighting nuclear
with
India.
With India, actually, there was some recent squabbles between India and Pakistan, so that's not great. But there's a difference between what do you do with somebody who has a nuclear bomb versus what do you do with somebody who's trying to get a nuclear bomb, right? So.
And who has Pakistan has never had the specific design of
destroying.
We
Israel,
need
right.
a particular. When we get this, we will kill somebody.
Right. And what has Iran been doing? They funded and armed Hezbollah. They supplied Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad.
Yeah.
They directed the Houthis in Yemen to attack shipping lanes.
Yeah.
They operated militias in Syria and Iraq. They orchestrated cyber attacks and assassination plots. I mean, this is not like we're pretending
we
Iran
can go
is
back
bad
to
guys.
1979 if you want.
Yeah.
And then the bombing in Lebanon.
Yes.
I mean, on and on.
They've
and
been
on.
bad guys for a very long time.
Forever.
Yeah. So they are definitely people that you don't want to have a nuclear bomb. So, yeah, I mean, Israel's maybe they pretend that they don't. Maybe they don't. Maybe they do. They probably do. But they haven't gone and blown up anybody. But Iran, like, you think that as soon as they get one, then they're going to nuke
Yes,
Tel Aviv.
it's like, how many times can you get kicked in the shins before you have to punch somebody in the face?
Right.
And especially when that person is reaching for a gun.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's like your neighbor
So they finally
walking around with a sign, "Death to my neighbor, death to my neighbor,"
and you're like that crazy guy.
and then he starts to set up like a machine gun on his roof.
Okay, maybe I need to act.
Maybe this is not
and
good.
this is that moment.
Yes.
And they're acting, and so it's not going so good for them. And so how about the where were you about to go with?
Well, I was just looking at the Trump 60-day deadline. In April,
Yeah.
we already talked about the 60-day deadline, and Israel went along with that, and this whole thing is called Operation Rising Lion.
Nice.
Who gets to name these things? Like,
No,
is that somebody they hire from Hallmark who sits there in the back
Yeah,
room
right.
and says, what are we going to name this one?
It's gotta be cool sounding.
Yeah.
It's gotta be intimidating. So
Another big distinction between the way these two countries fight is Israel makes every effort to avoid civilian casualties. You know, they attack military targets, and
this applies to Gaza.
yeah,
Oh.
and when they have to attack something that's like maybe there'll be civilians involved, they warn them ahead of time. You know, on the other hand, Iran bombs indiscriminately. They bomb hospitals. They do all kinds of other crazy
Yeah,
stuff.
they don't target military targets. So with the intelligence. So I know what I wanted to say. So then they go right after. How did they actually coordinated them being in the same room?
Who? Oh.
The top brass.
Oh. Yeah, well, they've killed like the entire top brass of the
But they somehow, the Mossad organized the meeting and made sure that they would all be there for this single strike. Now, I've also picked off a lot of people individually, but they created a meeting and give them, a sense of security, and after convincing them that Israel was not going to be striking anytime soon.
Yeah.
Got them in a room and then took out a whole room full of top brass. Plus, they've taken out like 11 of the top 13 nuclear scientists. That's not a good job you want to have.
Right.
There was one guy who was, after they took out the head of the armed forces, was promoted and got killed in 4 days. How about that third guy? How do you think he's feeling right now?
He wants to resign.
You're offering me the position?
Now, one
Kind
thing.
of busy that day.
One thing about this war is a lot of people don't know Iranians are not Arabs,
Right.
right? And there's this funny statement that people will say, Iran will fight Israel to the last Arab. Because they're always using Palestinians. They don't care how many Palestinians die.
Yeah.
They don't
That's a
care.
good one.
They don't care how many people in Gaza die.
Yeah.
But now it's Iranians dying, which they're taking the war actually to Iran, which I think is a good thing. And forget with these proxies. No, we're taking it to you, and we're killing your people.
Right. So you see that Hezbollah has not responded.
Yeah.
No other of the like you said, they're not Arabs. So none of the Arab countries have come to anybody's defense. In fact, Jordan. So
I think they're all happy.
To get a bomb to Israel, you have to go over Iraq and over Jordan.
Yeah.
And at least the Jordanians and the Iraqis probably don't have sophisticated.
I'm not sure they have the
weapons.
ability to do anything.
But and the Saudis, none of these people are, nor the Russians.
No. The Russians and the Chinese are sitting out. Nobody's coming to their help.
No.
No.
And so you know, if you think that you want to get your licks in,
Yeah.
By trying to overwhelm the system,
Yeah.
you don't have enough material to, you get some, you kill some school children and get a hospital or two.
Yeah.
You're not going to do any real damage.
I usually think of Germany, modern day Germany, as like the weenies of Europe.
Yeah.
But apparently I don't know if it was the prime minister or somebody in Germany said Israel is doing the world's dirty work.
Yeah.
Because nobody likes Iran.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, right, except, yeah.
I mean, Russia was allied with them in certain respects for a certain amount of time, but I don't think anybody wants to be on Iran's side right now, which is good for Israel. I mean, there's also any kind of conflict like this. The big question is, how can it get out of hand? How can it escalate? What are the bad things that can happen next?
Okay. So let's all right. I know where I cut you off. I cut you off with U.S. getting involved with the bunker buster, and us being, just in charge of regime change and all of that. So, about this underground facility, and apparently there's only one person.
Supposedly, we're the only people on the planet who have this bunker buster thing that can dig through solid rock for 200 feet before it blows up or something. I don't know how that works.
So, and I guess this bomb is so gigantic that you have to have a gigantic bomber to drop it.
Yes.
And we are the only ones that have both of those things.
Yeah.
And so to affect this Fordham, is that what it's called?
For something, yeah. Fordo.
Yeah, Fordo. So that would be
it would have
us
to
being directly involved beyond
just helping with logistics and
intelligence, and of course selling them the equipment.
Yeah. Now there's the other possibility. So the situation is, Israel could go in, like they could do a military strike where they send boots on the ground and go in and destroy the thing. That's one option. The other option is we send one B-2 bomber over there, drop one bomb, and that's the end of it.
Yeah. Right, because they would have to land a plane full of equipment and everything else.
But that gets the United States.
I mean the Israelis.
Yeah.
And
yes.
So otherwise, it's the bunker buster bomb, and Trump in his Trumpian way.
He's not thrilled about doing it. I mean, he leaves it on the table.
That's because he understands how the art of the deal works.
It's so funny listening to people. Are you going to do this? He said, I don't know. I mean,
you know me.
Nobody knows what I'm going to do. I don't even know. I don't know what I'm going to do until 2 seconds before I do it. Because he's leaving all the options open, which is exactly what he should be doing.
Right, and Biden would just lay out the entire strategy for you.
Well, that's what
if they do this, then I'll do that.
That's what he did with Russia.
Yeah.
I mean, the reason.
Well, I mean, if they go in a little bit, I mean, what
if
am I
it's a
gonna
minor incursion, then
Yeah.
that's okay.
Dope.
So yeah, but anyway, Trump is playing this very, very well
Yeah.
so far. He's been
I don't
pushing
want
for
this.
peace. I don't want a war.
I told him 60
Yeah.
days. I had a beautiful deal. Beautiful deal. Couldn't
big,
have anything
beautiful
better.
deal.
You couldn't have had anything better. You had to do this. You're
I
responsible.
told you 60 days.
I told you 60 days, and now we got. And so I was like, now the dog's off the leash,
Right.
and what am I going to do?
Right.
And are you going to come in and blow up the whole thing? Are you going to reveal your entire battle plan strategy to some
Mr. President.
junior cub reporter?
Yeah, Mr. President, who's going to fly the plane out of which
Yes.
out of which place,
Exactly.
and what's the munition load?
And what's the
gonna be?
operation called?
Yeah.
Does it have a really cool name?
And what's the code on that plane?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
he's not going to do that.
So but we have bases in close proximity all around the place.
Mm-hmm.
That be the kind of thing that would, like, these people don't care if they die, but would it trigger?
Well, there could be retaliation against American bases. Yeah.
If we do this one bunker buster move, and
Right.
now what? Now we're going to sit back and we're not going to take that. And now it's full blown. We're in. We're
Right.
in it.
Then we're in it. And there's also serious constitutional questions about that. Does the president even have the authority to do such a thing? The War Powers Act allows the president to get involved if the United States interests are in trouble. He can't expect to go to Congress and get a war resolution.
When's the last time we went to Congress?
I know. They haven't done it forever. But generally speaking, the president, like Obama, just bombed things anywhere at any time he wanted. But the War Powers Act allows the president to respond to threats and then notify Congress, and then Congress can say, no, we don't want you to do that or whatever. But in this situation, this is Israel fighting Iran. Where are our interests threatened here? So there's a legit question whether Trump even has the authority, in my opinion anyway, there's a legit question whether Trump even has the authority to go over there and bomb Iran. Because
I hear you.
we're not being directly threatened by Iran. Well, actually, we are. I mean, there's this talk. They've been talking since 1979 about how they're going to blow us all up and everything. But there's nothing new there.
I mean, we can point directly to Iranian-funded groups who've taken American lives.
Yeah.
So that's true enough. But
whether we can justify, okay, we're going to drop this bunker buster on their
the mother
nuclear
of all
thing.
bunker
Right.
busters.
It's called Moab, the mother of all bombs.
Yeah,
right?
right. They dropped one of those in Afghanistan just to make sure it worked. And it worked. So I'm not worried about the legality part. I'm just worried about the getting involved part, which, I mean, is part of the Trump doctrine, if there is such a thing. He comes in, he's like, yeah, we wouldn't have had the Ukrainian war.
Yeah.
I'll solve that in 5 minutes. We wouldn't have had the Gaza war. Now he's caught up in all three of these things. Mm-hmm. He doesn't like it. Mm-hmm. He doesn't want it. But
to what extent do you think the deep state is trying to push him into a war? Because the deep state wants a war with Iran.
You mean boots on the ground war? Like tanks and stuff?
I don't know if they want that. But, I mean, it seems like there is an element of the State Department and to some extent the Defense Department and to some extent even people in Congress who just want this kind of forever war. They always want to be fighting somebody somewhere.
Yeah.
So you have to wonder, to what extent is he getting fed information to try to push him into a war from some of these places?
Yeah, I mean, probably a lot. But you know what?
I trust Trump to resist that kind of stuff.
That stuff.
Yeah, I think of all the presidents in the last 50 years, I trust Trump to say, no, I'm just not going to do that.
He has this businessman sense that has worked for him his entire life.
Yeah.
To know who to trust and who to tell to F off.
Yeah.
who to insult and who to schmooze,
Yeah.
schmooze, and so I'm sure there are forces that are doing that, but I don't think it's going to get through now. So they've already, so he's like, the negotiated peace automatically involves giving up the nuclear program.
Mm-hmm.
If you say, the Iranians, the mullahs, say that's not on the table, then
there's no negotiated peace.
Then there isn't any.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like now. Is it no more nukes and you can keep the Islamic State, or do you want to take down the Islamic State with full blown regime change and looking for
I don't want regime change.
Bringing in the Shah back from
He's dead.
No, but there is a claim. There is a Shah of Iran.
There is another Shah.
Lives in England probably, and he's. He's got his bags packed. He's ready to move in. So, I mean, are we going to try to make things comfortable for the new Shah?
I don't
kick
think
these
so.
Guys out.
So
I mean, I'd love to see that, but it needs to be entirely organic.
It needs to be organic.
Well,
we can't go
we
in
got
and
CIA,
we can't go in and we can't go in and impose things, and it's not our business to do that. And it doesn't work when we do that. Well, I mean, where has it worked?
Well, that's what I was going to say. I was like, if it worked, I mean, I'd be okay with that. But we got a pretty crappy track record.
Libya didn't work out very well.
Yeah.
Iraq didn't work out very well.
Who knows what's going on in Iraq? Syria is about they're trying to play nice, but that's not going to be good for anybody.
So I was thinking about maybe going into what are the ways this could get out of hand.
Yes, please do.
Okay, so I think the simplest way this could get out of hand is if other groups like Hezbollah start to get involved, so that Israel is not just fighting Iran; they're fighting Hezbollah.
I think they've been taught their lesson. I think they have.
I hope
slap
so.
Those kids down.
I hope so.
And the funding is all dried up.
Yeah,
because it's all coming from Iran. So I'm okay with that.
So then the other thing is just more of a kind of a regional conflict where other Islamic countries say you can't be picking on our buddies.
Well, the Arab-Israeli war was 7 countries on one little New Jersey-sized state, and they whipped their asses very quickly.
Yes, and
this is the non-Arab war.
Yeah.
And nobody's coming to your aid.
They're not
Persians.
Arabs. They're not Arabs, but they are Muslims. So there is that.
But they're Shias.
Yeah. So
and not Shiites. So
that's right.
Whatever. But.
So there's that possibility. Now, if there's U.S. direct involvement, then there's the possibility of it escalating that way.
Right. Yeah. So you get right. Strikes on our bases.
Right.
Doing some kind of terrorist stuff here. But cells that are already in the United States.
Yes.
Doing what they do.
There could be cyber attacks. Now, personally, I'm not sure. I think Israel has taken out so much of Iran's stuff that I'm not sure they could do a cyber attack.
Right. I'm not sure if they have electricity.
Yeah. Apparently, they're struggling to keep the lights on. Yeah, that's true.
But they've been struggling to keep the lights on before the strike started, and I'm sure it's not gotten any better.
Now, the other thing is a big economic upheaval, where apparently China buys a lot of Iranian oil. So, if Iranian oil gets taken off the market and that causes a big price increase for oil, then that could be a big shock to the worldwide economy. So that's another way that it could escalate to some extent.
Yes.
So that's a bad thing.
Do that.
And then if you have people talk about regime change like it's a matter of, oh, we're just going to get rid of Biden and we're going to get Trump. No, regime change is a nasty, messy business. And if you have
there are a lot of powerful people who have a lot at stake in regime change.
I mean, look what happened after the fall of the Soviet Union. It took decades before they kind of came back to being a functional state there. And it was very scary because here you have this non-functional, crazy mess going on in a nuclear-powered Russia. So
and that's without the religious fanaticism aspect.
Exactly. So the idea of it's kind of like we took out Saddam Hussein because we thought he was such an awful person, but in a way, he was kind of keeping order there, So even though I have no sympathy whatsoever for the Ayatollah, in a way, he's at least keeping things in order. And if the Ayatollah's gone and there's regime change, that's going to be a messy, sloppy business, and who knows what's going to happen when that happens.
But I kind of, for some reason, I trust that. I think that there is a yearning for a pre-Shah westernization, hijab down, maybe a little bit of skateboarding and some blue jeans,
and maybe
I
women
think
who
there's a
can
little
actually
like
go to school. And
yeah,
stuff.
I think that strain is strong, is stronger than than you had in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
When you got rid of those cats.
I hope so. I mean, Iran used to be a very forward Western
Yes.
kind of a country, and you see pictures of Iran in the '60s, and you're
Right.
like, wow, this was
Yeah.
a cool place, and now it's
I have a little bit of faith in it now. All right, let's wrap this up here. Or do you get
I've gone through what I want to go through.
When this regime change comes,
Yeah.
I say a nation change. Go back to Persia. And then we are Persians, and so you attach yourself to the pre-Islamic
Interesting.
glory when you were the nemesis of the Roman Empire, and you know what I mean.
Interesting. Forget being Iran, be Persia.
So just if you're listening out there,
Yeah.
that's a recommendation from the PNC show.
There you go. I like that. I like that. Yeah.
All right.
So let's hope that this destroys Iran's nuclear program.
Yes.
Let's hope that there's a relatively peaceful resolution of this.
That there's little to no United States involvement.
Little to no United States involvement, and that the smart, peaceful people in Iran prevail.
All right. Go Persia.
Yeah. Cheers. Thanks so much for listening to Beer and Conversation with Pigweed and Crowhill. Remember to visit us at pigweedandcrowhill.com or send us an email at pigweedshow@gmail.com.